Hey everyone, my name is Tegan and welcome back to TandeWrites, where today we're actually talking about writing. I think in the second half of last year I started making a few more videos about the book I'm currently writing, tentatively titled There Will Be Other Summers, affectionately known as Best Friend Whip, and then how I'm going to start like a querying process for this book. Because I've self-published 2 books in the past. We have my 2017 debut, Beauty and the Breakdown, which is the teenage perspective of the Bonnie and Clyde story, and my 2022 re-release in 2023 to make it a little bit better, Fancy Paper Forest, which is about a group of teens waking up in a sentient forest and trying to fight their way through monsters and magic to go home. And I wrote this book, which is like this soft YA contemporary, which is very different to my other novels, and I thought, this is the one that I want to try and get out in the world through like a traditional publishing perspective, but I'm not going to be too mad if nothing comes out of it, because I do love self-publishing and choosing my cover and my interior the entire process, because I learned how to do it myself and I just really enjoy that aspect of books and self-publishing. So it's I'm going to try and query it, but if nothing happens, I'm not mad about it because I love the self-publishing process so much. I think last time I mentioned this, I had finished the first draft, or finished the second draft, and I was going into like one more like big round of edits before I felt the book was ready. So that's like pick up there where we left off. So I think last time I left you I had this lovely kind of proof copy I made. This is just printed off Amazon KDP. So the covers are very desaturated, but it's like, you know, a cover that I designed. Here's Asher, here's Rin, here's my babies. The interior's designed to kind of look like journal pages or letter pages. The front matter is photos I've taken because there's a lot of photography in this book as well. And like the design of the book completely took over. So I thought, you know, we've got to go back to basics. Let's print out a manuscript and I will edit on paper, and it has changed my life. Because I am someone who I edit a lot as I'm writing. I will rewrite chapters and scenes over and over again until it feels right enough for me to move on. And this book had a fun thing where I wrote a lot of it, and then I knew I wanted to introduce a big plot point, but it should have been introduced like 5 chapters ago. So I just carried on writing as if I'd already introduced it, so I knew I'd have to like go back and rewrite the entire start to match up. And that was largely what I did in like the kind of second draft, which was my big developmental edit draft, which was adding in scenes, rearranging scenes, things like that. This is more for like line editing and still other scenes, and looking at it from like taking a backseat and looking at it in just a different format, and more reading it, I was going to say for fun, for critically. I don't really know what my perspective was here, but I was reading it knowing that I was going to query agents and they have different requirements. So my first round of agents, they want the first 5 pages. So I'm going through and polishing the first 5 pages as critically as I can, sacrificing everything I need to make that as polished as possible. So I kind of wrote some notes in the interior. So as I was thinking of scenes, instead of jotting it down in my notes app, where I would just lose it forever because I have so many notes, I would just jot it down in here. In here, I'll just use them, I'll glimpse. But there's lots of things in these pages. I went for blue because I love blue. A lot of just adding in sentences where I thought, I know my big thing as a writer is that I describe the scene at the start of the chapter and then never address the scene again for the rest of the chapter. So I was going through and adding, literally just grounding the characters in where they are, making sure I am using all the senses, not just sight. And also, as one of my characters is blind, everything through their perspective cannot mention sight at all except their light and shadow perception. And then I have a deaf character who does wear hearing aids, but for the first few chapters has no battery in her hearing aids, and there's just hearing like muffled underwater sounds, so her description has to be more focused on her other senses. Going through and collecting those things, sometimes there's places where I use 10 words where I could use 1, so it's going through and just literally crossing out lines. But my editing process, not hugely interesting, but I think, again, I could talk about in detail and that'll be a whole other video, but this is not the editing video, this is the querying video. But yeah, I now have these beautiful treasured rare editions of There Will Be Other Summers. Actually, before we talk about querying, let's talk about pitch contests. I am someone who, there's a lot of, if you're in the writing community on Twitter, you'll notice that every few months, maybe every 1 month at this point, there's so many, there are these things kind of like pitch contests where you can just post a mood board and a short synopsis and some comparison titles for your book, just like in a tweet. It's usually on Twitter. Some agents participate in these events where they'll go through, if they like a pitch, they'll literally hit a like and you have like open permission to query them, because they're definitely interested in something about your pitch. I participate in a lot of those, got no agent interest at all, but I think some of it comes down to like a popularity contest. If you have more followers, more people engaging with your tweets, it's going to have a higher chance of landing on an agent's timeline. And I'm aware of that. But I love engaging it for like the community aspect. I love going through and thinking like, you know, here's all these books, I'm going to retweet that and one day they'll be on my shelves. It's just my TBR. I love this. I made some friends for it. But there was a kind of contest recently. Not really a contest. It's a Twitter account called Small Pitch, where they're kind of creating a database of literally small pitches. Like maybe it's 100 words, maybe it's 50 words. But very literally short pitches. You submit your pitch, like your one sentence synopsis in a sense, your genre, your age range, and it goes into a database. And this was specifically for, I believe this was for small presses. They had access to the database and they could go through and specifically request people they want to see more from. And through this, I got 3 requests. I was expecting nothing, as I'm convinced that YA contemporary is not a thriving genre right now. I go through Waterstones, I look at the new release tables, very fantasy. I look at all like deal announcements and books on like bloggers' upcoming releases, and it's like very not what I'm writing. So I felt a bit demoralised for a while, which is why I'm not getting my hopes up about querying, because I'm aware that it's not a trend that's thriving right now, and it's not predicted to be thriving by the time, like, if my book got picked up now, by the time it comes out, it's still not going to be thriving. But I got these 3 requests. I'll talk about it a little bit of detail. The first press predominantly seems to be like romance, maybe like darker or like paranormal romance. But anyway, I looked at the website. I probably will submit to all of these presses just to see what happens. But the first one, I'm pretty sure, based off what they already publish, not for me. Second one was specifically a queer LGBT. They prioritise publishing these minority voices. And as this is a queer, disabled, neurodivergent book, I fit in with them thematically. I think I'm happy to submit to them. I think I could find a good home there. But I look through the books that they've already published and there's nothing quite like mine, which a lot of people would be like, yes, I'm unique, there's nothing like me, but I feel it's a threat because publishing thrives off trends, and like, you like this book because it's like this book, because it's like this book, because it's like that book. And I think I could fit there for the queer elements. I don't think I fit in based on what they already do. Because a lot of these, it's like, both of these first 2 presses, heavily romance, or it's heavily more like adult. Whereas I have young adult, no romance. Then the third press is what I'm very actually excited by. They don't have a huge amount of titles listed on their website right now in the young adult category. I think it's the 12 plus category. But one of the ones that's there is a book I've read. I got it as an advance copy from NetGalley years ago now. And it's also a book where I'm completely in love with the cover. Whereas these the first 2 presses, not the cover-wise, not something I'm fond of. That cover has been on like my mood board for what I want my book to look like. So I'm very excited by this press because it's a book I know. They're also like multi-award winning and they're actually known. And I got this book off NetGalley. They have a NetGalley budget. NetGalley is so expensive. I am saving money because if this book becomes self-published, I'd love to stick on NetGalley. Have the, like, you know, real author experience. So I will be submitting to, I will go for all 3 of these presses just out of curiosity. I'm excited. I'm heavily excited about one of them, but I can see a home for myself in 2 of them. But I'm here for the experience. That's why I'm going for all of them. I'm here for fun. And now let's talk about querying, because I'm sure that's what everyone wants to know. So before you can start submitting to agents, you have to, first of all, write a query letter. You have to write a synopsis. So far, not everyone's wanted a synopsis, but it's always a good thing to have, just so you have an understanding of what your book's actually about. You need comparison titles. You need all your metadata, like what your age range, what your word count is, and you've got to research agents. I believe the first thing I did was actually work on my query letter, because I follow some agents on TikTok. So Gina and Alice, you've changed my life. You've made publishing and querying feel so much more accessible than it did before, and now I actually know what I'm doing. And they gave a lot of advice about how to write a query letter. I'll read you some little bits. So your first paragraph is going to be like heavily the metadata. I'm seeking representation for There Will Be Other Summers, my young adult age category. Novels that complete at 70,000 words. because there are expectations for, first of all, word count of how long a novel is, and each genre has its own expected things. But you need your genre, your age category, and your word count just in this first paragraph. And then I have a due to your interest in, so when I research my agents, they have like a wish list on their website, or you can like scroll their Twitter and their information and find a quote that basically shows that they are interested in your specific book. So There Will Be Other Summers is a standalone queer contemporary about the complexities of disability, discovering the wrong ways to be not okay, and how platonic soulmates can change your world overnight. Perfect for fans of Alice Oseman's conversational prose and the heart-wrenching coming-of-age stories of Nina LaCour. So the interesting part of that paragraph is it's your comparison titles. Usually they should be in the past 5 years, so I compare myself to authors rather than books. Also, a specific reason why you're comparing yourself to this author and the book. Just understanding of genre, where your book would fit on a shelf in a shop, things like that. And also saying it as a standalone. And if you're querying what you want to be a series, you still have to make it work as a standalone but with series potential. Because if it's your debut, people are going to be very hesitant to buy a series up front. You're going to get a standalone, and if it goes good, you're going to get other books. Then after that lovely metadata paragraph, we're going to go into the pitch, which is the bit that's actually what your book is about. Basically what the description on the back of the book would be. Rin is morbidly fascinated by the ocean, and he constantly thinks about ways he might let it consume his life, but each time something good, no matter how small, stops him from drowning. He might see past his sadness if he could still, see. Asha lives for the future, counting the days until she turns 18, when she'll be old enough to move out of her mother's house and feel some control over how she spends her time. She tries to see the good in everyone, probably best since she blocks out what they say about her. Not by choice, but she doesn't. When Asha and Rin meet in the group therapy exercise where they have to exchange letters, it's unclear who saves whose life. And when they make a pact to trade their lives for the remainder of the summer, it's clear that they both found the person who truly understands them. It's only with Asha that Rin can be himself, a lonely blind boy who might not be so alone after all. And it's only with Rin that Asha stops feeling so self-conscious about her deafness that she can forget to count down the days and start living them. They spend their summer trading letters and the brightest days of their lives, but when Asha finds a tear-stained letter from a mysterious writer, it's unclear who she cares more about saving. So that's basically an introduction to the characters, the conflict, and spoiler-free in descriptions. When you write your synopsis, which is, some people say it's like 1 to 3 pages, mine I believe is slightly like over 500 words, maybe 510 words. That's where you give all spoilers, key plot points, things like that. And the bit at the very end is you just write a little paragraph about yourself, your interests, if you have like any notable writing credits. I've not mentioned in any of my letters or my submissions that I have self-published books, because I don't believe self-publishing books is relevant unless you have like a massive audience and you sell hundreds of thousands of copies a month. I don't do that, so I'm not going to mention it. What I am mentioned is that I am disabled and neurodivergent. I am from England. I attended university. I studied photography and film, specifically writing screenplays, and I spend my free time hanging out with my lovely dogs and expanding my bookshelves. Just give idea to the agents of who you are. And I'm so early in the process, I don't know if it's a good query letter. I've submitted a query letter of critiques, but I've literally only submitted to 7 agents so far that I know have quick turnaround times, and they wanted a small amount of pages that I hope they can read quickly. And I know it's very unlikely in this industry that an agent will give you personalised feedback, as responding to queries is like such a minor part of their job. Their job is like focusing on their current clients, and if they get time, maybe they'll look at new clients. So like, I'm not expecting anyone to dedicate time to replying to me specifically, but obviously everyone thinks it'd be nice. And then after that I wrote my synopsis, which I said 500 words, about the key parts of the book. It's helpful because 500 words, my book kind of has like a loose 5-act structure, and it takes place over 5 months. So we have, what do we have? May, June, July, August, September. So I basically split it so it's kind of 100 words about each of those points. Maybe 50 for May and 50 for September. And then the rest got like, I don't know, 150. I can't do maths anymore. It's been a while. I haven't been to school for ages. And that was just a very good overview of things that happen in each act. Just key points. Make sure the main characters are introduced. My dog's barking. I assume the postman's here. Key points. Key plot points. You don't have to go into every single plot point. I stuck to major plot lines and the major characters, who are Asha, Rin, and a friend. And they both have like a friend who is relevant to major scenes. But you don't need to delve into every single plot point, every single character. And the thing I was stressing about this was, like, how do I summarise a book that I've been writing on and off for 10 years? How do I summarise so many years of my life into 500 words? And it turns out, if you allow yourself to research other books, you can type in, I typed in All the Bright Places synopsis, it pulled up a wiki page, and then I suddenly understood how to write a synopsis. Because I remember reading the book, I remember most of the things that happen in it, then seeing it literally just laid out in a summarised form, it made sense to me. It just suddenly all clicked. So yeah, query letter synopsis. I researched my agents. So far I'm just using the Query Tracker website. I went through sorted agents who specifically represent young adult, contemporary, and LGBT was very important for me. I made a lovely spreadsheet listing all of them. I went through, listed by their agency as well. I went through to find out if you can query multiple people per agency or just the one. I put in their average response time. I went through on their websites, they have their bios where they list specifically what they're looking for. I pulled out key quotes, if there's like books they mentioned that my book is similar to. Someone said they're looking for the next Meg Cabot and John Green, and I think my book is very similar to a lot of John Green elements. Obviously, Turtles All the Way Down and The Fault in Our Stars, and I grew up loving Meg Cabot. Some people say things like that. One of them says they're looking for like a own voices, distinct, emotional. There's a lot of like keywords there that apply. So it is going through, it took me hours, but it is worth it because personalising your query letter to a specific person, again, shows you've done your research. It's something like showing you care and you know why this person specifically is a good fit for you. You're not just querying everyone for the sake of submitting so many queries. And I love Query Tracker because you can just input all your information into a form. It's just, here's your name, here's the country you're from, here's your word count and your genre. Then you just copy and paste like your synopsis and your query letter. And sometimes you've got to submit, like copy and paste like your first 5 pages directly into their text box. Again, make sure you look to see how much they're asking for. But it's a very easy process. The research takes a while, but you do your research. I think my list ends up being there's like 85 people I want to query, half of which aren't open right now, but the ones that are open, I've decided that I'm going to do a round of every like maybe 4 weeks. I'll submit to a new bunch of people, but I will be submitting from the people who want the least amount of pages to the people who want the most. I think the most is just like first 30 pages. There might be a first 50 pages in there. I know I had to send out in batches just in case you do get feedback between each round so I can make adjustments to my query materials. And that just seemed like a good way for me. Because otherwise you start sorting it by like you group your agents into like your dream agents and the people you'd settle with and things like that. And it's like, I don't want to rank my agents by how much I think they're great. I'm only submitting to them if I think they're great and that they'll be a good advocate for my work. I'm not looking at it and be like, this person's my dream. Because I'm scrolling NetGalley and I think, oh, Victoria Aveyard's agent's on there, she's my dream. She's not my dream. She does represent my genre, and she is open right now, but I'm not trying to get my hopes up with specific people. If you represent my genre and I'm querying you and you've requested things that's specifically for my manuscript and I've looked through and you seem like a lovely person who advocates for your authors, then you're a good fit for me. So far I have submitted to 7 people. I'm filming this February 3rd. It's a Monday. I sent my queries Saturday night, so 0 business days have passed since querying. So obviously I got no responses yet, but 7 people. My book's out, like the process has started, it's very exciting. And I think I'll come back, maybe like every 3 months I'll come back with an update on how many people I queried, how's it going. So yeah, I have a lot of hope for this book, obviously because I'm trying to put it out into the world the traditional way. There's small presses who are interested in reading my full manuscript, which I'll submit to. But at the end of the day, if this book doesn't go out into the world traditionally, it's going out non-traditionally, self-published, because I believe in it, and one day I will have a NetGalley budget. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it provides some kind of insight into what querying is right now. It probably doesn't, it's very rambly, but thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.